when I started my first business, I had really no other choice because I couldn't find any other way to connect other than be the one that connects everybody else so I could feel connected.
All right, guys, I'm back here with Brandon Westcott. He's just come back from Dubai. My man, how are you?
I'm phenomenal. Just put it that way.
How was it?
It was unreal, actually. It was a dream come true, actually.
Why is that? Did you set like a dream for it, or?
In some way, shape, or form, yeah. When I started my first business, so maybe I'll just give a brief history. But when I started my first nightclub night, I actually saw everybody going out to Europe, and I was there in winter, seeing everyone on Facebook enjoying the summer, and them going out and just basically partying, while I'm basically launching nightclubs for them to party here. But I got this premonition. I was like, you know what? One day in my life, I'm going to be able to go overseas and not have to come back to something I hate if I don't want to. So that was the premonition. I was like, okay, cool. I think I get to actually go out and do business all around the world. And yeah, I get to come back to something that I love, not something that I hate. Wow. So that's why it's a dream come true.
Yeah. And what did you learn when you were over there? So you talked about some crazy things that you did, but what did you like actually learn?
I think I learned a lot more about just different cultures, different levels of abundance. Just when you think you've got to a certain level in your life, there's always someone there that's doing something even better, like even bigger, even more, abundant. And so for me, it was like, okay, this is another level. This is another level of work ethic, specificity in terms of wanting to deliver something to the world to receive that. These people are living on a whole different level of lifestyle. And as a result, it's kind of an incubator for people to thrive if they want to. People just want to work. That's why it's set up in the way that it's set up. People literally are there to work, to network, to create a lifestyle that they want to live by. And I don't know, it's kind of like different to here, as opposed to Australia, where we have tall poppy syndrome, where, there's this gap where if you step outside of the pack, so to speak, people will want to just bring you down.
Feel that, man.
So, I mean, it's a very different vibe here in the Gold Coast now. Like, your vibe attracts your tribe. There's a lot of people here that, like you and me and everybody else that's around here. But like, there's this collective congregation of people that are, coming together. So it's cool that the work that one can do on themselves can actually take that to the next level where that's just your reality. That's just your truth, where everywhere you go, you're attracting those types of people. So for me, it was just a confirmation of some of the, well, not just some, but all of the work that I've done in the last 15 years. Wow.
And definitely being like exposed to expansiveness.
Yeah.
And what is.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And, in terms of you and your own personal development journey, is what are some of the things that you think that you have used and that you've like sort of really embodied and integrated along the way that has made you sort of have the passion, be able to step outside of that tall poppy syndrome and really sort of escape from the fear of being judged or anything and actually go and chase your dreams? Like, what do you think were some of the tools or techniques that you used to overcome that and step in?
It's an interesting question, man, because like when I look back at my life, when I started my first business when I was 15, literally the tool that I was using was my vision, my mind. Like, I was swimming in an environment where I didn't really agree. I didn't really resonate with a lot of the things that was in my life, being told how to live my life.
Like what? I'd love to hear some examples.
So go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job, work till the day you die, that kind of thing. But more so specifically, like I was also a very shy, anxious kid, believe it or not. Like I was very disconnected from myself. So the way that I found connection outside of me was through basically facilitating and bringing other people together through the medium of boat parties, under 18s boat parties. So therein lied when I started to realize that I was somewhat a target market and I could see into the needs of what I needed, therefore projecting out to a group of other people, going out and serving, being of service, bringing people together and creating a memorable experience was something that initially was just in my mind. It started in the form of an idea in math class that I was failing. Within 6 months, I had built a 6-figure business in 6 months before I was 16. So it was like this belief that I don't have to go to school to get good grades to get a good job. I can make money with my mind. So I think as I've gone along, I've found that serendipity has shown the way. That whenever I listened to my heart's desire and I looked towards what my mind was actually telling me, I had to believe in myself before anybody else did. No one believed in me. It was only my father that really believed in me. When I started to come to him with these business ideas, he'd just be like, yeah, go for it. Like, he was the one that, he was my first angel investor, if you will, where he gave me $1,000 to put down for the boat party. And I remember looking at a wad of cash. It was like $2.5 grand just in my hand, like a wad. And I was thinking to myself, what? And all of that belief structures was just gone. So I've always followed my beliefs. I've always looked to change my beliefs and question my beliefs. And that in itself, it's kind of like the Matrix, the red pill, the blue pill. If you look at your beliefs as the blue pill, you believe whatever you want to believe. A lot of the ideas that we have in our life is actually it's not ours. We've been given constructs, ideas to create our suggestions, our behavior. So I've always questioned my reality. And because I've questioned my reality, I've actually gotten different answers. So the quality of the questions determine the quality of your results. And for me, as I started to question that, more people actually who are vibrating or resonating or emanating from that space started to show up, kind of like what you were saying before about the hero's journey, where like the guide all of a sudden comes around and, there's a person that picks up the phone essentially. Many are called, but few are chosen. A lot of people have really amazing ideas about what to do, how to start a business and all the rest, but they stop picking up the phone. They just let it be a call, but no one answers. So it's very biblical. Many are called, but few are chosen. But I just kept picking up the call, if that makes sense.
How'd you do it? What made you aware of it?
I think I had no other choice. A lot of people say,
it's kind of important with that no other choice. Because
Yeah.
people with obviously a burden is too much choice.
Exactly.
It's noise and it's distraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of these successful entrepreneurs, they only became successful after their back was against the wall. So when I started my first business, I had really no other choice because I couldn't find any other way to connect other than be the one that connects everybody else so I could feel connected. And in that initial phase then took me into the nightclub scene, and then I started to create my own version of a Bachelor of Psychology where I started to just network like motherfucker. I was just networking central, and that kept on opening up more conversations, more opportunities, and then more situations and events started to occur. The how, I think a lot of people get caught up on. I didn't know how to start a business at 15. That's a lot of people want to start before, when they're ready. School teaches us, and I'm not anti-establishment, but I'm very much anti the education system in the sense of it doesn't cater towards everyone, yet it's pushed upon everyone as a way. That's the only way for success. No, it's kind of backwards. When you go into school, you get taught a lesson and then get tested. Whereas in life, you get tested, then you learn a fucking lesson.
Oh, yeah, I just want to let that land for everyone right now because that landed for me. I love it. Tested and then learn a lesson instead of lesson and tested. Woo! Everyone who's listening right now, write that down. Put that somewhere.
Write that shit
I
down.
love that. Write that shit right down right now. Sorry, please continue.
No. It's that is really what I started to realize is you got to start before you're ready. A lot of people say when it comes to business is entrepreneurs are basically people who are jumping out of off a cliff and building a parachute or an airplane on the way down. And for a lot of people who are jumping into entrepreneurship now, I don't believe everyone should be an entrepreneur, but everyone should at least practice entrepreneurial skill sets.
Well, I think you sort of nailed it when we had a call previously jumping on. It's just entrepreneurship's the way of the modern day hero.
Yes.
And I really like that, because whatever your goals, dreams, and missions are, it's like, well, you can't do it if you're not making money. It's going to be a lot difficult if you're not. So that's when people have the limiting belief is, I can't live out my dreams and goals if I'm not getting money. It's like, well, you're lacking a skill or a motivation, or you're not accepting the call. You're refusing too many calls to go do something you love and then figure out how to get paid for it, which is the test and the lesson thing, which you mentioned.
100%.
Put yourself to the test and then learn and try to make some money for it. Who cares if you fail and you have to sell your house, sell your car, and like a relationship ends, whatever it is. It's like, well, in terms of you, your best future, you're the best version of yourself. If all of those things fail or your partner does leave you, it's like, well, then they're not the right person for you anyway. So it's good to rip the Band-Aid off now. So I think like that's really important to learn. And it's like, well, yes, it's scary. Yes, we're going through part of the hero's journey where it's all the trials and tests and everything. And it's going to be hard, like for sure. And you're going to grow heaps. But by the time you learn and understand that what happens is necessary and not to get attached to the emotional, oh my God, I lost everything. Like we're so safe. Like we are really so safe, especially in Australia. Like we're so safe. It's like, oh, like you attach yourself to all these ideas and things. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if they're there or not, as long as you're chasing what you most want to do. And it helps you grow, which I think is fantastic. So thanks for saying that, because that just triggered that off. And I was like, oh, beautiful thing.
Oh, dude, there's so much in that, just what you just shared as well. I think we're too safe here in Australia.
Yeah, so true. It's probably because he's so safe. Like one thing I find with a lot of guys that I work with that come into the coaching programs, and if they haven't been on the other end, because we sort of have like a bell curve, we get a lot of people who have like crazy amounts of success and have absolutely crushed it. And they're like, okay, I need to like go in and so I can bring something new and start embrace change. People in the middle where they're like, cool, I'm trying this. There's a bit of noise, bit of distraction. What do I need to learn to move forward? And other people who are like, look, I don't really like myself right now. Keep trying different things and I can't just stick onto that. And one of this is so common. It's just the choice thing again. There's so many people come up, they're like, oh, should I do this? Should I do a digital marketing course? Like this business course. I'm going to do a side hustle project at work. I'm going to micromanage everyone in my team, or I'm going to do something else. Or which girl do I commit to? Because there's like so many out there. I get attention from here. Like what am I going to do? And it's like, well, what are you going to do, man? You have to sacrifice all of those things to be a master at one thing.
It's really a conversation of sacrifice. Like it's literally, and like to pull on that thread, man, it's like you have to literally become someone different.
Yeah,
it's
literally.
Like you are the one you've been looking for all this time. But a lot of people, like, until you actually recognize that that's just a bunch of words in a sentence. Like a lot of I've sought out the best of the best I could in my experience. One of my actual mentors, he was I won't say his name, but he was the inspiration for The Magician's Way. I started getting golf lessons from him. So I don't know if you've heard of The Magician's Way.
I've heard of, haven't dived into.
Really great book, William Whitcloud. But the first chapter is about the magic golf lesson, and I actually got the magic golf lesson, and the magic golf lesson is basically he uses golf as a metaphor for life, where people are going for false targets and true targets. Where when you focus on your circumstances, that's where you create from. Whereas a lot of people don't actually create from the circumstances that they want to create.
How would you use that? Would you mind using the golf analogy? Was it like, do you aim on one hole? If you aim for too many holes, you don't like, was there like?
Well, golf's a very interesting sport, right? So like it's literally designed to there's traps set up. There's literally traps and obstacles set up to distract you. So basically what you were just saying before about sacrifice, look at this world right now. We've got so much traps. Like it's in our pocket now. Like, looking at multiple times a day, like 150 times someone looks at their phone, picks up their phone. So that is a distraction right there and then. It still gets me sometimes. I'm like, fuck. Oh, Jesus, so it all comes down to the relationship, right? With how we view the world and where our focus goes, energy does flow. I'll give you an example. Like I quite literally got an instinct on a cellular level, how where people always say focus goes, energy flows. It doesn't actually land until you actually had an experience of that. I actually had a jet ski accident in Bali. And I was showing off, my ego got in the way, and I tried to spray my mate who had the camera, not realizing that I had a friend behind me on a jet ski that was like in my blind spot going 60 kilometers an hour, So as I turn to my right, I see him lock eyes with me, and literally time slowed down. I look at him. He's veering towards me, because where you go, like where you literally focus your head, your body will follow, therefore the jet ski will, like motorbikes. And so we're going towards each other, and this voice last minute said, look away. And I looked away, and he went over the top of my nose instead of hitting me and T-boning me at 60 kilometers an hour, and he went airborne. So quite literally, our subconscious mind is programmed to go unconsciously where we focus it. Even when we don't want things, we still experience it. So relating it back to golf, when people go, I don't want to hit it into the sand trap, that's where they're unconsciously focusing on. Take that in another sense. I don't want to be broke. All you're focusing on is broke. So, and it's not about, like, because I've had times when I haven't had money, I've had lots of money, lost it all, got it back, found a way. Like it was never about the circumstance that I was in. It was always about, where am I going? It was almost like now didn't matter, but that's a paradox because now does matter. but this it's all about bringing the future into the now. So it's like I started to focus on the desired reality and really just operate from that space as if it was already done. And I started working with him just after I got made redundant from Tony Robbins. April 1st was when I got made redundant, representing the man Tony Robbins. And I started working with this guy, and within 3 months, not even, I end up living on the Gold Coast, finding this tribe, because all I was doing was I didn't want to suffer in silence. I didn't want to be isolated. I didn't agree with the fact that we had to listen to these totalitarian, tiptoe of laws that was keeping people from connecting. If you think about a cell in isolation, it creates chaos, like a cell. And so we are human, like as human beings, we are like those cells. If we are around other people, just like cells are around other cells, it starts to calm and homeostasis starts to come into effect. So I started to focus on, what do I want when COVID hit? I want to create a community. I want to create leaders. I want to create people who are bringing in the next generation of leaders that aren't even born yet by, literally the buck stops at them. Like you were just telling me about the feedback that you asked all your friends, and doing all this work and being the work. It's like, these are the type of people, just like you, I was thinking about manifesting quite literally a connection, a community of people who are just like me, crazy enough like me to think about what I want during a period of time when people were telling you not to think about what you want. No, listen to me, listen to this narrative. And again, I think I just built a threshold of going against the grain so much in my life that I just called bullshit. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to let anyone decide how I should live my life. So, and here we are. So me, I've met 200, 300, 400 people who are consciously creating their life. And it all started by thinking about it, but not just thinking about like in the secret. I believe the secret is still a secret in terms of the law of manifestation, the law of attraction. And I've got written right here, it's like the 2 floors of attraction is belief and work. I got manifested tattoo on my wrist, believe, manifest, work, but in that sequence. You got to believe first. You got to actually look at what beliefs are in the way. And when you actually manifest opportunities, that's the real work. When things come up into your reality, it's like a lot of people can manifest a relationship, but can they keep a relationship?
Yeah, I love that.
So,
yeah, well, have you got any experiences for you in terms of like an examples of that coming to fruition for you?
Yeah. I've had many. I've had one of my friends have asked him, actually, is like, what is what is the meaning of life? I asked him, and he was like, how much you can hold. And,
oh shit.
And like straight away in the car. And I keep coming back to it because it continues to initiate me. Like the hero's journey. It's like, it's this whole separate, initiate, return, separate, initiate, return. It's this upward spiral effect. And so when you start to be the work, not just do the work, but be the work, when you're in a constant state of being, I've had situations where I've lost businesses, but I've also had situations where those losing of business led me to the next business, led me to the next partner, the next relationship, the next reflection that I was able to look at. So when you're being the work, what tends to happen is a lot of people, they have this effect where they start to dig a little bit deeper. Like there's this excavation phase where they're going into the underworld and they're going into, separating from group think, and they're starting to tune into their own, just their own being. What tends to happen is all this other stuff starts to pop up, right? Quite literally. And there's this saying that I've constantly heard in groups is like, oh fuck, I thought I worked on this. I thought I did all this work. I went to all these seminars. I went and got all the coaches and I thought this would have been done already.
I'm still here.
I'm still here. Well, actually you were safe enough to be real with yourself, to bring something to your conscious awareness for you to actually then work on that. So it's like a gestalt. It's a sequence of effects, like these domino effects. One leads to the next. So, I mean, I have too many to relate to, but every relationship I've ever been in has taught me more about myself.
I'm just taking that for time. Sorry, please keep going.
Yeah, sure.
Just ignore me if I'm looking.
Yeah, sure. And so, like one in particular, So when I actually came into, I'll tell you this example. So I always wanted to live in a mansion. Every time I had a fight with my parents, for example, my first initial response was to go on realestate.com, and because I lived in, I grew up privileged. So I had a riches to rags to riches story. Like I had to unhook myself from all of that privileged mindset that me and my friends were swimming in unconsciously. I always say privilege is the new poverty, because it all comes down to what you do with it. So I use my privilege as a platform now, but back then I couldn't understand how I could jump from mansion to another mansion. Like there was a bit of a gap. And initially when you start out, the gap's kind of like this, but in actual fact, the bigger the goals you set, the bigger the setbacks you must endure, right? So like I was setting massive goals, wanting to be a billionaire by 30 and all the rest, and wanting to live in a house with all these entrepreneurs. And in 2020, it actually happened. It took me 10 years of working at it, but it actually happened. I dreamed up this life. I dreamed up everything. And I was separated from my family, but that was okay because I was with my family of entrepreneurs I was dreaming about having for so long. And I had the BMW in the garage, just like my parents. I had it was convertible too, and it was initials of my initials as well, BMW. And for a period of time, I was living an incredible life that was manufactured from a wound of not enoughness, not like trying to be seen by my family and trying to, at the root, replace my family in order for them to be proud of me. And when things started to fall apart in the sense of that experience, it was only like for 6 months, but 3 months in, that's when it started to deteriorate. I only started to get the learnings afterwards when I was like, holy shit, I'm trying to biomimic my family and replace my family. And that was what success was to me. And when I realized that, I sold the BMW, moved out of that mansion, bought a van and lived in it by myself, and began the process again inward. Again, I was like, okay, well, the only way out of this situation is in. And like that was a lesson that continued to be a sequence of learnings as I started to unfold into my real self, my true authentic self. So, but I realized that every instance and every event that led up to that moment was a series of lessons that led me to holding the space that I have now, this elevation hub that I bring community together, that is literally set within rites of passage. It's literally helping people earn the right, RITE, to be successful, where they're embodied. And that's my belief, is that is the real education system that is not yet built, is from embodiment, is people who are actually out there being their message, not telling people what to do.
It's crazy that we just weren't taught this at a young age, hey? And it's like, we get to learn it now. I'm going to jam this into my kids' brains. like
Straight up.
Well, we don't even have to really jam it into their brains. Like, all we got to do is be embodied and they'll learn anyway. So that's always comes up to your responsibility. You do the work. Or be the work, because I've experienced that a lot. Even, I would say there was a bunch of time, like I've been recommending, as I told you before the podcast, I recommend people, I'm like, do this exercise, message the 5 closest people around you, and just tell all the time. Ask them what your strengths and weaknesses are. Yeah. I don't know. I've put it out everywhere. I don't know if anyone's actually done it. So if anyone's listening, please let me know, because I'd like to know if you actually done it or not. But I was like, I haven't done this in like a year and a half. I better do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, for me, it felt like I wasn't exactly embodying it if I'm not currently doing it. So I'm like, quick, send the message. 6 people right now. Go. And had one of the most transformational weekends of my life. All my walls got like built down. And I was like, oh man, what I do to all my coaching clients, I just had happened to me through everyone back at me. And I was like, I found some gold. And I was like, this is the best. This is the best.
Dude, acknowledging you for that. Like that's,
thank you.
No, seriously. Like I'm not, it's a testament to embodiment. Like quite literally.
It's like, well, thank God, because I felt like I was just doing the work. I felt like I was just doing it and like doing what needed to be had instead of actually being. And then that one was like, cool. And then I sat present with it all weekend. This whole week, like I would say last week and the week before was in a position where I felt like you're feeling like you're living from here up. It's not so much in the body. But as soon as I'm talking about from shoulders up for anyone listening, it just felt like everything's in my head and I'm just doing all this stuff. And I'm like, yep, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And like taking time to be present, but not really present. Not from like your brain to your heart to your balls present. So I was like, cool. After that weekend, like this whole week, like, because the weekend's just gone, it's Tuesday today. It's like Monday, Tuesday. Like, even though I have felt some stress, some normal stress whenever it comes up, I've just been like, I can own this. And I can be here. I feel way more present. I felt so much more in my body because I had all these walls teared down. I was like, there's direction. Awesome.
Dude, that's huge.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
What's your number one thing that you got from that experience? Like the number one wall that was broken down?
So, straight up. So just trace some stuff back to a childhood, which I didn't even realize was even there. And it was, God, dude, it lands so real for me out. I don't know if anyone else has, but usually I'm like, in terms of your egos you were talking about beforehand. I'd love to hear your experience on this too. Because you mentioned with your family, it was like you had that one thing and then you replicated it. And it's like, cool, now I'm coming from a place that's not a wound from somewhere else. And then it's like, it might be replicating somewhere else when I'm unaware of. And I kept saying it over the past couple months. I'm like, my ego's hiding and I can't find it. I kept saying, I'm like, I have no idea where it is. And I thought it was this, or I think it's money, or I think it's something else. No, we found it. And essentially it was, I fear of feeling guilty myself and making other people feel guilty to the point, well, I've got it written on the wall over there, is I avoid it. I avoid making other people feel guilty because I'll feel guilty about making them feel guilty. So in terms of boundaries or being direct or communicating or making someone feel bad when necessary, I will lower my boundaries or lower my standards. So if I let someone down, they don't have to make me feel bad or guilty for it. Damn. And I'll let those things slip and go down in case they step up, so I don't have to make them feel guilty for it. And that just goes everywhere throughout my entire life. It's not like crazy hectic in terms of, it's like a real bad problem in here. It's just tiny little things. Yeah. Like tiny little things here, there, and they just sort of filtered through everything in my routine, my mindset. And I was like, I fucking got you. I was like, I fucking got you. I wrote out some stuff to do in terms of like, these are some things that I got to do to go clean up. And some of them I'm like, oh, God damn, I don't want to do this. It's like not hard. It's just like talking to someone or doing something. And I'm like, my whole body tells me it doesn't want to do this. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to make others feel guilty. So that was crazy. Thanks for asking the question.
No, what comes to mind is like this savior complex. It's like the rescuing you.
Literally.
People. It's just like as a preventative from actually being there for yourself. It's like, I don't want that for anyone else to have that experience. So I'm going to rescue them from,
Yeah, literally.
I'm going to save them.
Yeah, I say to everyone, it's so funny, I say it to my parents all the time, I'm like, do you ever want to save face and not make someone feel bad? I don't care about making feel bad because they got boundaries. I'm like, oh shit, I'm so bad at making everybody feel bloody bad. I don't want anyone to feel bad. Goddamn, I want them to feel good. So I highlight as well. I highlight the good in everyone. And I have one of my housemate nailed it. He was like, you have so many, one of the things I asked him, the weaknesses was, and this is where it come from, you have so many good intentions for other people that you forget to see the bad. And I was like, and I have so many good intentions for other people. So that if they do something bad or they do something bad to me or something I don't like, I unsee it so I don't have to make them feel guilty for it.
Shit.
Because then I'll feel guilty for it. Yeah, right. How deep was that?
That's wild.
I was like, oh my God, now I'm so aware of this all the time. I'm like, all right, I got to get comfortable and guilty now.
Yeah,
So,
guilt is an interesting thing actually, because I've had to go into this a lot. And you were saying before about like my ego. So my ego actually resided a lot within worth, and guilt was the opposite polarity or the opposite expression of self-worth.
Tell me all about it.
How long do we have?
Well, maybe just get into the sharp points for you to pitch it.
I mean, so like you wouldn't, yeah, how do I say this? So you wouldn't take on self-worth, like guilt, if you didn't actually feel that worthiness. So say, for example, like for you to rob someone of the experience of maybe feeling guilt, it's kind of like it's an external projection, right? So the way I was projecting out into the world was in order for me to feel worth, I need to fulfill someone else's. And that came in my savior complex of wanting to rescue other people. But really it was connected to mother-father stuff, like dynamics that was playing in unconsciously within, just in the background. Like, it took for me to actually go through the journey that I was expressing as a high note for me to actually take back my worth in how I was teaching other people how to treat me. Because like you said, like self-worth, if you don't have any worth in self, then you will of course let other people walk all over you. And that shows up in doing deals. So I would always I didn't actually see the value of how much I was bringing to the table in every business deal because of this wound. I was over giving, not realizing that I thought everyone had the visionary mindset like me. I thought everyone could see pictures. But when I started studying NLP, I realized that not everybody's like a visual kinesthetic. Everyone processes information differently. So I was like the visionary is actually the most important part of any business or relationship or anything, any dynamic, because you see a reality that doesn't yet exist, and you pull it into the now and you hold that vision. So I was the one that was coming in with unique, creative ways of disrupting different types of business industries. And I was getting the last piece of when everybody else was fed. I was young. Like I didn't know any better. And that was my, learn a bunch of lessons, get tested, got tested and then learned a bunch of lessons. Right. So I really started to teach people how to treat me. I started to reclaim my worth by actually teaching people what this person is worth. And what's really interesting is when you actually start to embody that, when you start to actually practice this and putting yourself first, like putting myself first was my deepest fear.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of people can resonate to that, man.
Yeah. Like when I released and let go of that, I had a psychosomatic response where I was laughing and crying at the same time. Like laughing. When did you
let go of it?
This was last year.
Was it a breath work?
No, this was this year actually. It was a 4-day hypnosis event it was a mastery course. Phil the hypnotist here on the Gold Coast is amazing. And I won't uncover the process because anyone who does this course is amazing. But when I actually did it and I literally let go of this fear that I was carrying around for 4 days with an inanimate object that didn't make any sense at the time. But when you actually did let go of it, it made so much sense. And I was on Broad Beach, the beach in the water, fully clothed, in the ocean, just releasing this into the ocean, and came out having this psychosomatic experience of laughing hysterically and crying uncontrollably at the same time. And this was really everything that had occurred to me, like happened to me, which actually wasn't happening to, it was happening for me. Like I had relationships break down. I had people leave my life. I had people, you know, like that were trying to take from me, but I was actually teaching them how to treat me. I was actually putting myself last in the equation for them to actually walk all over me. I was the one that was trying to rescue a relationship, a business partnership, a friendship, other people's relationships. It was crazy. I was there for everyone except myself. And so when I started to really put the parameters in place where I started to say no, oh my gosh, interesting how people react or respond. All of a sudden, people started to respect my boundaries. In fact, they were reinforcing my time boundaries on certain events or experiences or work, stints, project timelines. People were telling me, oh, I know you're busy, yada, yada, yada. Like it started to manifest in a different way to the point where it's funny. Like I come back to Dubai and I sat at my favorite bakehouse here just before I came here. And I was just very direct, definitive, walking up, and the guy who clearly owns the place, he was like, oh, you look like you're on a mission. I'm like, always. I'm here to eat.
Bring out the food.
Bring out the food. And he literally he took me to the table and he opened the chair for me to sit down. I was like, what? This is a bakery. I'm like, something's definitely changed in my experience right now. And I just sat there going, watching him, is he pulling out chairs for everybody else? No. Okay. Interesting. So that subtlety, like what you were talking about before, how it trickles into every aspect of your life. You can see the residue. It may not be something that worth was something I conquered, but there was still residue that I was unconscious of. And until I brought that to the consciousness of and the awareness in the now moment, I just thought it was fate. I thought that was just my reality. That was my truth.
I love it. So here's a question. How would you teach people in terms of bringing their future reality into the now? Like, how would you teach that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I already kind of started to say before on this call, transmission, if you will, is start before you're ready. Start before you're like literally like when a lot of people put themselves in environments to feel comfortable.
Comfort zone's a bitch, man.
It is a comfort zone.
Dude, I find like one comfort zone is working hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working hard on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You've got a million different projects on the go and it's just like self-sabotaging you from your dreams because you're doing all this scattering out here instead of focusing on what you want. I'm like, that's a comfort zone.
Yeah.
And now you're scared to take the true risk of maybe taking a step back to take 3, 4. Yeah.
100%. 100%. A lot of people are too invested in their current reality, their friend groups, let's say. And this is not to say that to delete your friends, control it, delete. They'll probably do that yourself as you start to actually put yourself first. Like I went sober for the entirety of 2016 after a very intense event. It was my rock bottom moment. Occurred and I was never the same, but no one knew about it except my best mate and my girlfriend at the time. And yeah, I left the nightclub scene. I went a year sober and I started to go into the coaching industry and wanting to actually, I took 3 steps back, like you said, took myself out of the 2 businesses I was building in the nightclub scene and in sales. And I chose to go sober. And then I decided, you know what I want to be a coach. I want to help people. I want to be a speaker because at that time I was doing lots of Tony Robbins events and I was like, I want to do what this guy does unconsciously. And so I went sober, and what I realized in that moment of choosing at least a part of my dream, the real friends stayed. The ones who were just my drinking buddies evaporated into thin air. So you do need to stay out of that comfort zone. Like if I was to teach what was the question again? It was around...
It's teaching how to bring your future into reality.
How do you bring your future into your reality? Is, again, start before you're ready. Literally look at the environment. Look at who has your future reality and go and hang around with them and add value to them more specifically. Like how I got access to all these networks was literally I was building businesses with them, and albeit I wasn't seeing my true value, I was still getting a piece of the pie. And that was I was giving up a whole piece of the pie, and having a little slice to get my seat at the table, to get my seat in the action. A lot of people just want to do it all by themselves, like lone wolf syndrome, and not have anybody else benefit from that. When really, if you actually just take an idea to someone who has your freaking dream life and you go, hey, I've got an idea. I want to bring you value in some way, shape or form, whether it's in a business idea that they have or it's something that they currently aren't doing that they can't see, and you offer value, you pitch them, chances are you're going to not only get access to what has made them, but also their contacts and their circle of influence, and you'll become one of them. You are literally the 5 people, like the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So what I started doing as a 19, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, all the way up to still now, I was in Dubai hanging out with multimillionaires who are 20 years older than me. I've always hung out with people who are like the wizards, who have wisdom that I don't have because I haven't lived on this planet very long. So I go to where the wisdom resides and give exponential value to that person. Chances are they'll open up doors, they'll open up opportunities, contacts that they've been developing, and that's it. Like you literally don't have to do anything else other than put yourself in other environments.
You can pay to be there too. I mean,
100%.
in terms of people as well, I think like because the world is so online right now, we want things immediately. They go, how much will people pay to go to an in-person event somewhere like across the seas? Heaps.
25 grand.
You pay, whatever money it is to go to an experience. But it's like, okay, so sometimes some of those people, and this is just for the online people, I think, because I'm one of them myself, and it's like, we got the same experience online. Not as it's transformational as obviously in person, but it's like you're still networking with the right people. Like I joined a new group for coaching. It's been one of the best things ever. I've talked to some of the best people in the world in coaching around relationships, like 2 people in the past week and a half. Nuts.
Amazing.
Nuts. It's like immediate, like this. I had like one 1 hour call with one and one half an hour call with the other. I learnt more in that hour and a half than what I would out of reading any book, like listening to audiobook after audiobook, practicing new techniques.
Yes.
It was just like right there. I was like, cool. I paid for that. But I also agree with the self-worth thing because that's how I've attracted people into my the self-worth, increasing your own value and bringing value. I love your one. I love your techniques a little bit different because mine was like, make myself so valuable that other people want to attract around me. That was my sort of technique and my ticket into doing what I'm doing. But I think yours is more powerful because in terms of, and you talk about having a lot of mentors, in terms of really finding a strong, powerful, valuable mentor, like that's a really good business plan because even getting from where you are now to where you want to be, and they've got the ticket, and you find, okay, I'm going to buy into someone else's idea and their vision and goals and pitch something to them, help them as best as I can. Yeah, I'll get a small slice. As you mentioned, it's like, well, now you literally have the one-way ticket to your goals.
100%.
Like, and they'll help you get there because you help them. Like reciprocity is a real thing. First spiritual law, whatever it is. Like straight up, it's like it's so crazy. So I love it so much.
Yeah, it's like life is literally relationships.
Relationships is new currency. My friend Diogo
100%.
says that all the time. Did you know Diogo Giglio from up here? Yeah, he says he goes like, I am so rich in relationships. It's a new currency. He says it in his accent, and I'm like, you got it, man. It is. Relationships is the currency.
Is
I believe.
literally the currency. Like it's classic, but your network is your net worth.
Yeah,
like,
so true.
And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so cliche. It's true. It is literally true. Like that's where all the opportunities resides within your network and how you like it's,
Dude, here's another Deej quote and I love it. I'm sharing Deej quotes right now, but he's so smart. He's crazy. Like he's someone who I look up to and he's jumped in and done my program and everything and just loved it. He says this, I love it so good. It's not what you know. It's not who you know, but who knows you. Yeah, I love it. That's all the time. I'm like, yes, dude. It's so true.
I was having one of those conversations with a friend of mine from the nightclub industry. And we were having like this beautiful scotch overlooking Manly Beach, and we were just having the same conversation. It's like it's not about who you know, it's who knows you. But literally, like if no one knows you, no one's going to do business with you. Yeah. Like, and it's oftentimes when I love what you say about like being an attractive character. Yeah. Being someone that's magnetic. I think that is the ultimate because that is what you can control. Like being of value. That is the only thing that you can literally control because people can ghost on you. You might have actually, like misjudged this person. This person could actually not be who you thought that they were, or who you wanted them to be. rather. And that's been my learning lesson, is putting up too much emphasis on someone who has the power. So it was a long way to realize what you've realized. But initially, to start, when you've got nothing, when you are no one, when no one knows you, the best way to go, like that's the fast track, is go to someone that everybody knows, or like a lot of people know, that have depth in relationships, not just width or breadth, but like depth, like deep relationships where people know, like people are willing to die for them. That's the kind of relationships that I've got now, because I've shown up enough times. And I think most relationships, they're very surface level until you've been through some shit
together. Yeah.
Like together.
Yeah.
And the ones that actually, like my whole thing is chaos is crucial to create consciousness, right? So like a lot of people avoid chaos. I look at chaos as the initiator, the one that actually,
it is
like extracts the real you and the real people out of who they are. And the ones who are left standing are actually the ones who are willing to go the distance with you. So there's a lot of people that aren't here anymore on my journey. Like lots of love to them. They were part of my journey, but they're not part of my future anymore, unfortunately. Maybe they will. Who knows? But chances are, that won't be the case, because I've had to literally watch and sit myself in chaos and watch the character that I've become literally dissolve before my eyes.
Yeah, well, you let it go.
Yeah.
Right. You learned the skill of being able to let go, because you let you go. So it's easy to let other people go.
Yeah.
What a crazy concept. So what about views? So we'll finish up after this question.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think is the most important skill that you have learnt? And how would you, again, I'd say teach people in terms of some of the steps to cultivate it?
I would say speaking, and the pathway to being a really good speaker
is to talk. No,
is to talk. Is to listen. It's to be an observer, but really to go through rejection. A lot of people avoid rejection. Like unless you accept yourself, you have a problem with rejection. And so I see a lot of speakers, and this was my process, but I felt so insignificant. So I found ways to be significant. My number one fear was speaking. I would rather die than actually get up on stage and present to a classroom of 5 people and debating, let alone an entire audience of people, right? So I've seen you speak on stage. I've spoken in front of a couple hundred people. That's been my biggest audience. Like for me, it's a natural skill set that I forget that it took me like basically my entire career to actually hone in and develop on. So you're always going to be influencing people. You can't control people in what they do, but you can be an influencer. Like this is the real, I have such a bad like relationship with these influencers online and why it's predicated on the person rather than the people that they're influencing. Is the way that you become a really good influencer is how you like literally influence yourself and how you listen to other people and what they actually want. Like everything is about timing. It's not about what you want, it's about what they want. And if you can help enough people become successful, then in turn, the natural byproduct is you become successful. So I've always used my voice for good. Now, I had a good intention, but really in the beginning, there was a lot of blockages in that. Like I had a lot of fear. And so to transmute that, to be able to learn how to influence effectively, I basically went and knocked on 100 doors a day in a sales job and got fucking rejected. And my goal was not to make money. My goal was really to like, how many times can I get rejected? Get the no's. And that became less and less of a trauma response. And I actually started to skip in between doors and be like, yeah, let's go. Like next no, I'm ready for it. And surely, but like it became, the bigger the goals you set, as I said, the bigger the setbacks you must endure. That's one of my mentors taught me. It's kind of like said in a different way, like Alex Hormozy, he was saying, if people want to go to the peak, you must build a stronger base. Like think about a pyramid, right? So, if you want to build a really big pyramid, you want to build a stronger base, a very stronger base. So a lot of people don't actually build their base. They just want to go to the peak real quick. And that's why they don't hold what it is they can hold. They just grab it, they attain it for a little bit, they get a little bit of attention, but they can't hold it. They can't hold that relationship long term. So my suggestion is this is a long game. This is a this is a marathon, not a fucking sprint. You're in this for life, right? Yeah, you're in this for life, right? So your reputation means everything. And when you're actually giving from here, when you like your heart, yes, for those who are listening online, when you're giving from the heart space, not the mind, when you're not trying to think about the things that you need to say on palm cards and trying to get words across, because words are just 7% of all communication, right? Everything else is nonverbal. So it's the space you come from is literally more important than the place you get to. Who you are is more important than where you go, what you want and what you want to, fucking make in this lifetime. Sure, that's good. That's going to be the vehicle to get you there. Like I'm all about having more resources, like give me more money so I can help more people. Absolutely. But I know that if I lost my money, like all over again, I know that because I am my number one investment, I am literally the number one investment. I know that I can make it back 10 times more because this is the game I'm committed to. And so speaking has been the super information highway to get me into rooms, situations, events, experiences, trips. Like Dubai was a byproduct of byproduct. It was a Dubai product.
I was going to say if you went.
That was literally a byproduct of introducing this person up on stage back when I was just practicing as an MC. So again, it ties back into what I said before, is like go and add value to other people. I was hanging around, like I want to be a speaker, if you want to be a speaker, go and hang out with other speakers. But you don't have to go out and find them. They'll find you as you start to go and progress in the world. Like now all my friends are speakers. All my friends are like coaches, entrepreneurs, philanthropists. Like I didn't seek them out. I attracted them through my being. So the space you come from is more important than the place you get to.
Boom. And for everyone who's listening, where can they find you?
You can find me on Brandon Westcott, WESCOTT, on Instagram. That's where I'm most active at the moment.
Awesome. Any websites, anything? Where's your entrepreneur hub thing? If anyone can.
I'm launching that at the moment. So,
so
stay tuned.
Stay tuned, everybody. Give him a follow because there's some pretty crazy stuff he's doing up in the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you sincerely.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.